by love itself and need no other touch, and purer than the purest gold refine it ne'er so much. It is the life and light of love, the sun that ever shineth, in spirit of that special grace that faith and love defineth. It is the want of the word that yields a sense so sweet as gives a power to faith to tread all falsehood under feet. If the whole world were as good as you, and not an atom better, were it just as pure and true as you, just as strong in faith and works, just as free from crafty quirks, all extortion, all deceit, schemes its neighbors to defeat, schemes its neighbors to defraud, schemes some culprit to applaud, would this world be better? If the whole world followed you, and followed to the letter, would it be a nobler world, all deceit and falsehood hurled from it altogether? Malice, selfishness, and lust, banished from beneath the crust, covering human hearts from view. Tell me, if it followed you, would the world be better? Oh, say, can you see? John was a bad boy who beat a poor cat. Tom put a stone in the blind man's hat. James was the boy who neglected his prayers. They've all grown up ugly, and nobody cares. One, every action in company ought to be with some sign of respect to those present. 2, in the presence of others, sing not to yourself with a humming voice, nor drum with your fingers or feet. 3, let your countenance be pleasant, but in serious matters, somewhat grave. Are you getting all this, Mr. President? 4, strive not with your superiors in argument, but always submit yourself to others with modesty. 5, think before you speak, pronounce not imperfectly, nor bring out your words too hastily, but orderly and distinctly. 6, undertake not what you cannot perform. As you know. But children, you should never let such angry passions rise. Your little hands were never made to tear each other's eyes. The vulture eats between its meals, and that's the reason why. He very, very rarely feels as well as you or I. His eye is dull, his head is bald, his neck is growing thinner. Oh, what a lesson for us all, to only eat at dinner. my prince.
Words. Words, words.
Now that sounds familiar. But what is the matter, my lord?
Between who?
I mean the matter that you read, my lord.
Slander, sir. For the satirical rogue says here that old men have gray beards, that their faces are wrinkled, their eyes purging thick amber and plum tree gum, and that they have a plentiful lack of wit, together with most weak hands. All of which, sir, I most powerfully and potently believe, yet I hold it not honesty to have it thus set down. For you yourself, sir, shall grow as old as I am, if like a crab you could go backward.
Shakespeare, my prince, what folly is this? If your royal father finds out, I won't answer for it.
I'm not asking you to.
My prince, I beg you. Your father has entrusted you to my care. You know how he frowns on, well, cultural elitism. What we're after is the common touch. Let's try another from the Book of Virtue, shall we? How about this? A jar of honey chanced to spill its contents on a windowsill, and many a viscous pool and rill. The flies, attracted by the sweet, began so eagerly to eat, they smeared their fragile wings in fruit. With many a twitch and pull in vain, they gasped to get away again, and died in aromatic pain. In the morrow, my prince, oh, foolish creatures that destroy themselves for transitory joy.
Who let these curs in here? Whip them!
Oh,
Henry!
Father.
Come to me! Observe! Observe their pain and learn from it! From pain, fear. From fear, discipline. From discipline, greatness. Men are the raw material of power. Your power. The army must be your only joy. The basis of your earthly bliss. Upon it depends your true interests, glory, and prestige. Leave us! Never forget the frailty upon which order is built. What was Germany before me?
oh, nothing, Majesty.
An anarchy of tin-pot nobles, 300 miniature states all at each other's throats. Now they have purpose, discipline, a state to live for. They have Prussia to live for. Everything else comes second.
As it should, Majesty.
Gunling, isn't it?
Yes, Majesty.
You wish to see me, didn't you? You're after a new post. Not content to be a mere teacher anymore. You're after greatness now, are you?
I only wish to serve, Majesty.
And how do you propose to serve Prussia, Gunling?
Well, the question of censorship, Majesty, for example. The public morality which we must be ceaseless in our efforts to safeguard. Your Majesty has shown such wisdom in your recent decrees. The suppression of foreign newspapers, your decree instituting educational reform, your decrees demanding the hard work, discipline, patriotism, and moral purity that every Prussian, no matter how humble, aspires to embody. In short, the infinite wisdom of all of your Majesty's recent actions of states demonstrates clearly that God's universe can have but one center, and that center is the earth. And the center of that earth is situated in Prussia. And, as it were, with your permission, Majesty, the center of that center is centered specifically upon His Most Gracious Majesty, by divine grace, Frederick William I. That is to say, upon nowhere else than upon your Majesty's royal person.
You ain't centered up his royal ass.
How dare you? Is that how you speak about your father? About your king? What are these? Books? Shakespeare, Lessing, Racine. What is this? A flute? Where did you get this trash? Goodling! Do you know anything about this?
Oh, me, Majesty? Nothing. Nothing. Oh.
Wasting your time with this foreign tripe. Is this going to make you a Prussian? A king? A leader of men? A Prussian honors authority, whether that authority is God's or his king's. Are you my son or of you? That's what I think of your culture. I'll teach you what real Prussian culture is about. Get those frills and laces off him. So, Gunling, you miserable kiss-ass, shall I give you the position you're after? It doesn't pay much. Still, it's not pay you're interested in, is it? It's honor, culture, prestige. Well, how much is culture worth to you, Goodling? Will you pay your dues?
Yes, Majesty.
I have to feed a people, Goodling. I have to feed an army. This isn't a country with an army. It's an army with a country. I have to be stingy. Yet look at me. I rob people and army for you. I cut $200 out of my own flesh for you. This is how much I love the arts and sciences. This is how much I love you, Goodling. Will I get my money's worth?
Majesty, the culture of a great nation has no price.
It has an exact price, and it can be calculated to the penny. It's a product, a commodity. It's an industry of its own, except for it's a piss-poor one. If it produced anything of value, it would pay for itself.
Majesty, beauty is ephemeral.
Beauty is a woman's naked ass.
We cannot command creativity, my gracious king.
I can command it. I can buy and sell it, just like I'm buying and selling you. $200. Do you want it? Will you take it?
Majesty, I will be most grateful to accept.
Beg me for it.
My king, that would ill become me.
Nothing ill becomes you, as you well know. Beg!
Oh. My gracious Majesty, I humbly beg you for the position.
Lick? Bring us something to drink. Stand him up. Let's all drink a toast to the new chairman of the Royal Academy, Jacob Paul Baron von Goodling. Drink, Frederick. Drink, I said. Now here. You find it bitter, Goodling?
Exquisite Majesty.
Congratulations on your appointment!
Time to pay up, Goodling.
Access to power has its price. You expect the government to support you, you have to be willing to support the government.
I need something for the subcommittee chair. And what about the committee chairman himself?
What about the head of administrative review? What about the Bureau of Internal Communication? What about the Social Services Council? And the Board of Education? And the Joint Investigative Committee on Ethics and Morals? Culture doesn't come cheap,
Gentlemen, I beg you.
That's right. Grovel, you overeducated little chicken shit.
You're a man, aren't you, Goodling?
Prove it!
Oh, I'm a man just as you are, man.
Did you hear that? Comparing himself with us?
Not much comparison as far as I
I serve the state.
So do we, Goodling! At least we do something useful.
Oh, we are power! We are order! We are what holds back chaos! And nothing is as fearful as chaos, is it, Goodling?
You're no better than dogs.
And you're no better than us. Here's the proof. Let's see what you're made of, philosopher.
Look out! There's a shitload of culture heading your way!
Oh, I'm receiving culture. I'm receiving beauty. I'm feeling more enlightened already.
Take this as a lesson in philosophy, Frederick, and in government. The people are animals. Blind them, beat them, make them grateful for the little they have. Keep the intellectuals where they belong, so they don't mislead anyone into thinking that thinking matters. Education means obedience. Art is for the elite. Keep it at a distance and encourage your subjects to despise it. Art has nothing to do with what the world is. This is the world. I didn't make it, but it's my gift to you.
That it should come to this. Oh, what a noble mind is here overthrown. Observe, gentlemen, the majestic order of the cosmos. Take comfort, for this too shall pass. Mankind is an aberration, a momentary indigestion of the universe. There is no great ladder of being, no grand evolution toward higher forms. What we call life, gentlemen, is merely a vicious war of accidental organisms, a temporary illness, a momentary miscombination of matter and energy. It is the random act of a universe whose only reality is death, emptiness, the void. For Prussia!
Goodling is getting ideas again.
He's delirious.
Brain fever. Intellectual hothead.
Let's put out his fire.
gracious God from whom all blessings flow.
Go on, show me what you've learned.
I can't.
Well, what's the matter? Haven't you got a prick between your legs?
I can't.
You consider yourself a member of the Prussian military, and you can't piss when your king orders you? Are you a man or aren't you? Punish him! Get him out of my sight! The agony of paternity. I've built a nation from nothing and sustain it by sheer will. Enemies everywhere, the world in chaos, force and fear are what matters. Only the weak cry for justice, only the defeated preach compassion. People say they want freedom. What they want is safety and the freedom from responsibility. I took away their freedom and they were glad. They wanted entertainment and untroubled sleep. Well, now they have it. I alone remain alone. I was given nothing and have made everything. My father was a weakling, a feminine shadow, a disease. Grandfather. There was a man. A great elector. The country in ruins after decades of war, its honor poisoned by defeat and weakness, its morality eroded, its ruling class weakling and degenerate. He feared nothing, a visionary. It was he that imagined this country return to its honor. It is his vision I have sacrificed myself to fulfill. Yet see how I am betrayed in this son, this creature that follows me. Who would be a father?
Who would be a son? Who would be a German? Who would be a man in such a world? Give me love. Love is the only sanity. Only love can fill the silence that the hell of man creates.
Frederick! Cut! Where are you? Don't be mean. Stop teasing. Cut, that was you, wasn't it? Or Frederick? Is that you? I've got you. Who is it? Frederick? You're not Frederick.
No, Your Highness.
I've won.
Until the victor belongs to spoils.
No, don't take it off.
As you wish, Your Highness.
So there you are. How cozy you two look. I feel positively left out. Enjoying the game, Cot? You two seem to have gotten ahead of me. That's all for you, my dear sister. It's his turn now, isn't it?
Yes. We'll give you a taste of your own medicine, Lieutenant Cott.
Yes, let's show him what it's like to be led in circles.
Here, let me. Now hold still. You'll see how I'll punish you for being so bad. Catch me if you can. Catch me. Okay, but hurry. Catch me if you can. Once there were 3 bloody men. Oh, Rosa Bloom. Who came upon a pretty maid. Oh, Rosa Bloom. Mountain valley snow so cold. Won't you love me till I'm old? Be my lover, brave and bold. Oh, Rosa Bloom.
I've got you now!
No, you don't. It won't be as easy as that.
Temptress.
You have to be very careful now, Lieutenant Cott.
Yes, Cot, don't make the wrong choice.
Show us who you really love.
Yes, Cot, show us.
The pretty maid was all alone. Oh, Rosa Bloom. Her blood was scattered on the snow. Oh, Rosa Bloom. Mountain valley still so cold. Yeah, she never will grow old. She had lovers great and bold. Oh, Rosa Bloom.
Careful, Cot, she's tricking you.
Your Highness is too cruel. How can I win?
Yes, Cot, how can you?
No, don't listen to him. He's trying to fool you.
Who's fooling who? Which one is which? Which one will it be?
I've got you at last. Now for my kiss, my darling.
No, dummy, over here! He tricked you! You thought it was me. Didn't you, Cut? Say you did.
I'm bored with this. Let's play tragedy.
But we have to keep going. Nobody's won yet. Please, Frederick, I was having fun.
I shall be Phaedra.
Oh, Phaedra's a girl. I should be Phaedra.
Or you can be Theseus.
Is he important?
He's the king.
You'll see. I'll be the cruelest of kings. I'll make slaves of both of you.
That's right, dear sister. Men should be slaves to what is beautiful, should they not, Cut?
Naturally, Prince. What man stands not helpless before beauty? And who would not willingly be its slave?
Indeed. Let's begin. If you should hate me, I would not complain, for I appeared resolved to do you ill. Deep in my inmost heart, you
When
could
does
not
Theseus come in?
Not yet. My lord, heaven can attest, far different is the care that weighs on me.
Lady, it is too early yet to grieve. Who knows, your husband may still be alive.
No mortal visits twice the house of death. Since Theseus has beheld the
I want to
sun shall-
enslave somebody.
Be patient.
In this I see the wonder of your love. Dead as he is, Theseus still lives for you.
I'm dead? I'm playing a dead person? Hey, wait a minute.
Yes, Prince. I pine. I burn for Theseus. Not as once he was, the fickle worshipper at countless shrines, the constant,
Behold,
proud,
tis I,
even
Theseus,
a-
back from the dead, cruelest of kings, ready to enslave both of you.
It is not your turn yet. Enchanting, young, the darling of all hearts. As fair as the gods, or as fair as you are now. He had your eyes, your bearing, and your speech. His face flushed with your noble modesty. With you I would have been saved and lost as well.
Have you forgotten that King Theseus is my father and you his wife?
What makes you think, my lord, that I am forgot, or am no longer mindful of my name?
Forgive me. Blushing, I confess your words were innocent and I misunderstood.
Ah, cruel. You understood too well. I've revealed enough.
For very shame I cannot bear your gaze, I go.
Stay! Stay. My foolish heart, alas, too full of you. Take vengeance. Punish me for loving you. Take my sword since you refuse my hand. Take me.
Tis I, your royal father. I will teach you discipline.
No.
I will teach you what it means to be a person. Unhealthy, unholy, unnatural.
You'll punish me, will you?
Frederick, it was only a joke.
A joke, yes, a joke. I'll do the punishing now. Help me, Cop.
No, cut.
God
no.
damn it, Cop, what are you waiting for? Help me, I command you. Hold her.
As you wish, my prince.
Cut. I was only a game, Frederick. I was only.
Prince, it's true, she was only playing.
Ow.
Don't tell me what she was doing.
Ow. Oh.
She was spying on us for him. She wants to come between us. A female Judas. Jealousy, that's what's behind this.
I wasn't gonna tell anyone, I swear.
Liar! A whore and a liar. I can't trust any of you. You're all against me.
Please.
My father and his honor, his morality. He preaches purity all day long while he himself is a walking bag of shit.
It's him, not me.
I'll show you the real face of Prussia.
Please, Frederick, I'm frightened.
Go ahead and be afraid. He should be afraid, shouldn't he, Cut?
I will. I'll tell Papa everything, and then he'll punish you.
No, dear Papa, it is I who will punish you.
Prince, perhaps.
What? Don't tell me you're afraid of dear Papa too, are you? No. Let's put an end to the old swine right here and now.
My prince, I
Die,
beg
you bastard! Oh, why do you stop me, Cut? There's no reason to stop. Who is there to stop me? I'm the prince, aren't I? I can do anything. There's no one to stop me.
Seize him! Put some clothes on him.
Kill him, Papa. Kill him for real.
Remove her.
No, I want to watch. I want to watch it die.
Take her away. Ask forgiveness of God, you piece of filth, because you'll never get it from me. Your commander-in-chief and royal father will speed you on your way to divine justice. God knows I've suffered an eternity of punishment at his hands by your simple existence.
Go fuck yourself.
Oh, is that right? You like assholes, don't you? Well, I'll tear a new one for you. I'll teach you how to be a man if I have to kill you to do it.
Forgive me.
I can still see you.
Indeed, you will.
I'm ready to die for you, noble prince.
I can't watch him die.
Come now, we can't let you miss our little entertainment.
From boy to prince. From man to king. See how easily he draws the wire through his head? Becomes the puppet hung before the people for their laughter and applause. Ready to dance on their graves, hungry only for his own. You, who never arrived. You, everything that lived in me. You, the door to a room that I didn't have the courage to enter. Sometimes still dizzy from the memory of you. I remember the possible. That too. Gone now. Gone forever.
Kill him.
No!
So much for cops.
I loved him. He was mine, not yours. Mine.
It was me you killed.
If only I could.
There is nothing worse than man.
Charge! Fight, you sons of bitches! Did you think you were going to live forever?
Calculating, bold, resilient, unceasingly industrious, a gifted tactician, a superb strategist, enormous intellectual capacity, cynical, hypocritical, capable of any treachery, hungry for power and territory, either more or less treacherous than most other monarchs. Simply more efficient and purposeful, while others around him succumb to inertia. He will bestride the world as the colossus of his age. Hail Fritz! Hail Fuhrer! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil!
Thus did the son transcend the father.
I die contented, leaving such a worthy son and successor.
Death of Frederick William. Death of the father.
A great man,
The father of Prussian militarism.
the father of Prussian bureaucracy,
The father of Prussian self-discipline.
self-denial.
Purity.
Frederick Williams speaks to us from the future, a future for which we so ardently long.
To the future.
The future.
Where's my father now? Snow. Blood.
Beginning of the death of the sun.
You there.
Me, Majesty?
Read to me.
What would you like to hear?
Lessing.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high and you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but never quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns as every...
That's not Lessing.
No, Majesty. Life is queer with its twists and turns as every one of us sometimes learns, and many a failure turns about when he might have won if he'd stuck it out. So stick to the task though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with one more blow. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt, and you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you mustn't quit.
Kill this man!
Majesty! Now perhaps a noble heart, thus with a kiss I die. Majesty, a kiss. I beg you.
Fuck off. Art is a waste of space!
Death comes to fill the sudden space of where a life once was, the abrupt arrival of eternal emptiness. It was life that was the accident, the shouted word between two silences. Good. Courtesans and corpses, the swindlers arrive, loaded down with promises, the empty human masks. Poet said world is the face of the beloved. My beloved was poured out on the ground, his life spilling through holes, the sudden encounter of flying metal and frightened flesh. Blood leapt from him like the catastrophe of desire. World disappears before my eyes. Nothing good can come of man.
Meadows so green, and flowers fair, gold for the good, blue for the just, red for the lovers, and white for the dead. White for the dead, said Fred. White for the weight. For the white corpses adorning the pages of history. His story, my story, his storybook of the dead lying. Look at the lies in the bloody fields of empty effort without end. Less than endless battle. One, lost and 1, 2, 3, 4 more wars to go for me, for you, for forward! Plunging fast and faster, master and mistress mine, my people, mein Kampf, my mistaking, my taking you into my own history. False story, hysterical, dragging a nation behind, blind, deaf and dumb, waiting for a result that never comes and staggering under the weight of the nightmare machinery of blood shedding a tear. Not I, in my eye, aye, Captain, oh my Captain, can't you stop the bleeding? No heart, no pulse, no will you, no won't you, no don't you, and the fearful flesh trip, flinging flags, flailing men, grim and daring, cold and dead, for the bugle trills, and bouquets, and the ribbon wreaths, and the swaying masses standing in the gap of the maws of the cannons to the right of them, cannons to the left of them, backward, forward into the eyes of the beholders, beholden to holding my hand in the insane dark of my own head. Bells! Bells! Hell's bells! The arm beneath the head, the mournful tread, lines of soldiers lined up heads and eyes emptied by death to stare back at me from the blank, dark, black dark, back into the dark barking of the hounds of hell. Hauled by the baggage of bags, of rags, of flesh chanters of rot, meet me under the linden, for in years to come I have a pleasure, treasure, secret garden in store for you, O my beloved people, O my beloved, O my beleaguered league of nations I've never known. Not only those that come after me know this, know that. Know me, not me who went before, but still my stand still, is still spreading on the winding sheet of my story. His story, history still unwinding the shrouds and shreds of the collapse of consciousness, lapse of will, lapse of sanity, lapse of pretty maidens all in a row, row, my boat, by the beach, by the drowning men, by the downy rows of pretty puppies, pupping forgetfulness by the handful of my own selfhood, until my head would finally split with the witness, with the wellness, with the don't you know that I made my preparations, reparations, degradations for your old captive, oh my captain, the unimagined torture. Running on blood, running on rails to the rails and wails of widows and orphans and windows, and our friends annihilated, burned, roasted alive to the music of marching jackboots. Running on beyond the screaming, running on rails that somehow derail the hungering boxcars that will box you into the inescapable, capable of putting you all in ovens if only there were ovens. Enough of this history! No, I have history enough in store for you, because his story, enough, is lynching into a future you can't enough imagine, won't imagine, because you don't care a damn enough to dam the flood enough before it floods enough, down bloods enough, down sweeps enough of sleeping, undermining, underwhelming, never minding the mind how you listen, mind how you live, mind to obey the mind ahead of mind, the state in a state of no state, but state of business conditions, in no condition to administer heaven and hell won't have me, but here enough I'm home enough in this place, my place, don't you know, here enough, preserved enough, reserved enough, but will you serve me enough, for if war was the only destruction we are capable of enough, was said enough, we're dead enough, oh God, my head! What? Dead enough!
Majesty.
The nation calls. Yes? Who are you?
The widow, Majesty.
Really? What kind?
The most unhappy of women, Highness, but only if you will it. It is for you to speak the word.
Majesty won't. Majesty don't. Go away. You're disturbing my work.
My lord, I come to beg you for my husband's life.
Can I try a few things out on you? It's so hard for a man in my position to get any honest feedback.
Majesty, my husband...
By rejecting the authority of the individual and replacing by the whim of some momentary mob, does not the principle of majority rule sin against the basic aristocratic principle of nature?
My king...
Nature rewards the best and brightest. The majority rewards the mediocre and the safe. The majority arrives at some decision whose consequences may be absolutely ruinous, but nobody bears any responsibility for it.
Majesty...
Can the fluctuating majority of people ever be made responsible in any case? Isn't the very idea of responsibility bound up with the individual? But can an individual directing the government be made responsible for the actions that must be made a slave to the temporary whims of the great mass of the public?
My lord, I know not...
In reality, this kind of so-called government can never be made responsible for anything. Its political ability can only be judged according to the skill with which it pulls the majority over to its side. Indeed, its most urgent task is to constantly curry favor with the public. Thus, does the actual task of leading statesmen lie not in the birth of a creative idea, or in a brilliant plan as such, but rather in the art of making the value of his projects intelligible to a herd of sheep and blockheads? Isn't the real criterion of leadership in the so-called democracy not honesty, integrity, or genius, but rather possessing the powers of persuasion to the highest degree, even for the most moronic of ideas? And isn't the incapacity of leader shown not by the failure of his ideas, but by his failure to win the support of the mob? Indeed, has the mob ever understood an idea before success proclaimed its greatness? Does anyone believe that the progress of the world springs from the mind of majorities, not from the brains of individuals? Isn't every deed of genius in the world A visible protest of genius against the inertia of the masses, and in view of the stupidity of his fellow citizens, mustn't every true leader refuse to be degraded to the level of the mob? Just asking.
King, you have sentenced my husband to die this day.
Did I? Well, who is he? What did he do?
A victim of slanders and falsehoods.
Media lies, no doubt. You have my sympathies. But back to my essay.
My lord, I must beg you, hear
Obviously,
me.
your husband fucked up. What have I got to do with it?
He dies this very hour at your decree. He is an unlucky man, a Saxon officer who served once in your ranks, but deserted when you commenced this recent war. Out of honest love of country did he his loyalty to you discard, since home to him was Saxony, and to it and us his noble heart was drawing him. This day, according to the rules of war, he awaits his execution by your majesty's decree. This man's widow I, or if your grace will show him mercy, his wife again.
Now I'm confused. Let's go back. Saxony, war, deserters. Who am I at war with?
Saxony, my lord.
Saxony, yes.
My husband, once your loyal subject, by conscience called to aid his native land, forswore his oath to you, to serve the ones he loved.
Bravo! Then he should die content. A good conscience is a great comforter. You know, I've been reading a book recently called 21 Steps to Unlimited Power. Do you think I'm wasting my time?
Great king.
Precisely my point. I am a great king, aren't I? Yet power seems like such a mystery to people, or at least how to get it. Honestly, I've come to the conclusion that it's nothing more than the systematic exploitation of the weakness of others. It's simple, isn't it?
Spare him, great king. Does not the honor of his act bespeak a noble heart? A heart that spared today will e'er to you be true from this time on.
Look, he's already betrayed me once. What's to stop him the next time his conscience calls? His conscience is entirely too footloose and fancy-free for my taste. I'm sorry, old thing, but you can't have it both ways. Didn't you hear what I was just saying about responsibility? That's what's wrong with this country today. No one wants to take any responsibility for their actions. Everyone's a victim. A country of crybabies and talk show confessionals. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
Majesty, time is what you hold within your grasp. My time with him and his mine. A father's time to watch his children grow. Sweet time, once gone, will never come again. Let love plead for him if reason cannot. How will I live?
Live or don't live, it's all the same to me. He wanted to be a big hero and play the great martyr. Well, now he is. A martyr has to die, after all. Wouldn't it be kind of anticlimactic to pardon him now?
I beg you.
Beg if you like. I like begging. Majesty won't. Majesty don't. You are the widow. Full stop, full stoop.
Mercy, God in heaven.
The heavens are empty, madame. From where would you like your mercy? From God or me? I am the king. I can't answer for God, though I'm as close as you can get to his divine indifference. Well, go on if you feel like it. Give it a try. How well can you do? I'm listening.
Gracious king.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. I lost my hearing in battle. You'll have to speak up.
Gracious king. Think how loved of God is he who pardons, and in that blessed act, how like our loving Savior, Christ himself, who knowing all our sins yet showered mercies on us all, though all unworthy. Is there no person once you loved and lost, the memory of whom still wounds your heart? And can you not think of he or she in this my husband, as if in giving back your own, my own was once again, as if in giving back my own, your own was once again restored? If power once from you took all you loved, let power heal the ache in you that power made. A word from you, Majesty. My husband's life hangs upon a single word.
This is not the way to please me.
Have you no heart?
Not for myself, not for anyone. What good are hearts to me? Your husband, for example. Now there's a fellow whose good heart made him into an honorable traitor. Why should I reward his lack of loyalty? His noble act should be its own reward. And besides, there's nothing noble in his act unless he sacrifices something to perform it. Now, if I take away his sacrifice, I rob your husband of his nobility. And what's he look like then? A mendacious publicity hog. Some media-hungry creep who's trying to cut a glamorous figure in the public eye and still get off scot-free. No, 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 my widow. You can't sneak around me that way. He can't have his cake and eat it too.
Think not of honor, Lord, but mercy. Do not break my heart.
And should my heart break because of his or yours? Madame, a king's heart is nothing but an open wound.
Oh, Majesty.
Oh, baby, baby, if you only knew the anguish of my lonely nights.
And mine, Majesty.
I'm not kidding. How I long for consolation. Oh, you kings of men! Oh, you heartless monarchs! See now how a true king dies! Unconvincing, wasn't it? Look, there's no point to any of this. Why don't you just go home? No, leave the sword though. I'll need that. I'll set it in the doorway after you've left and run onto it just like the best kind of hero would do. Would that satisfy you? Me dead? Would that be good?
No, Majesty. My husband's life is all I ask.
What a repetitive cow you are. Kill me. Go on. It's your right. I won't help you or your husband. Why can't somebody else be king? How lucky are those I execute? They get to die, but I just have to go right on killing. It's part of the job, you know. You have to take stuff from people so that your country can get ahead. And to take stuff, you have to kill people.
Majesty, I beg you. You have the power. My husband...
If only I could take his place.
Oh, Majesty.
Did you ever witness an execution, madame? Not a pretty sight. Oh, what a piece of work is man. If only nature would have forgotten to create him in the first place. What would I be like with 20 bullets in me? Would I breathe freely at last, so well ventilated? I'd be free of my own stench, though I'd still have some rotting to do. Better we drop this. A man has only one mistake to make. That's all that's ever necessary. Your husband made his. God is a pig. If he exists. Do you believe, madame?
Yes.
Then pray to him.
God in heaven. Hear my
Better pick
prayers.
up the pace a little. I don't see much action out there.
What?
Any news yet?
Thy kingdom come. Thy
We can watch it from this window, widow.
will be as it is in heaven. Give
Let's
us
watch
this day
together.
our
Let's see if
daily
mercy comes. So, how was he in bed, widow? Was he a hero at the old In and Out, too? You're slow on the uptake, aren't you? Don't you know how to please me?
Would it save my husband's life?
Well, if you don't give it a try, you'll never know.
Majesty.
Think of him in his grave and you not knowing when you did everything you could. Terrible thing to live with, widow. I can speak the word from that window. Decide.
I obey.
You don't get it, do you? I don't want obedience. I'm surrounded by obedience. I'm choking to death on it. What I want is your volition. I want you to want me.
You may take my body.
But it's your heart I want. Your love. Can you not love me as you loved him, even for an instant? Can't you give me that little bitty thing? Don't you understand my terrible loneliness? The agony of my solitude? Will no one love me? Can't you pity your poor sovereign? Can't you see him too as just a man? A man trapped in history, condemned to a role which he himself can't escape. Won't you? Can't you give me your love, sweet love? It's all I need, you know.
Yes, Majesty.
No more majesty. Give me, if only for this instant, one small taste of the great love you have for him. Am I so greedy to only ask for scraps and leftovers? I can see what a true heart is yours. Let me glimpse, if only for a moment, one small glimpse of the happiness that only the two of you together know. Can you not teach me what it is to be loved by one so kind and good? Can you not love me?
I love you.
Oh, my widow. Oh, my people. If you only knew the sorrow of command. I long for love. I long for beauty. But when the destiny and existence of a people are at stake, all obligations toward beauty ceases. When the nations on this planet fight for existence, when the question of destiny, to be or not to be, cries out for a solution, then all considerations of humanitarianism or aesthetics crumble into nothingness. Can I betray the destiny of my nation because I'm unwilling to pursue its interests with the necessary ruthlessness? Can nature long be scorned before her vengeance appears?
The world belongs to the strong, not the weak.
Justice is not won through solemn appeals to the Lord, nor through pious hopes in international tribunals, but by force of arms.
Only self-preservation can conquer.
So-called humanitarianism, the expression of stupidity, cowardice, and know-it-all conceit, will melt like snow in the March sun.
Mankind has grown great in eternal struggle, and only in eternal peace will it perish.
If this nation wants to end the state of affairs that threatens its extermination in Europe, then it must recognize its most dangerous enemy and strike at him with all its concentrated power. What is refused to amicable methods, it is up to the fist to take. We must secure for this people the land and soil to which they're entitled on this earth.
Almighty God, bless our arms.
Be just as thou hast always been. Judge now whether we be deserving of freedom.
Lord, bless our battle.
Blood, sin, and the desecration of the race are the original sin in this world, and the end of humanity which surrenders to it.
Now is the time for action.
Eradicate the racial scum, the immigrants, the dark skins,
The yellow skin, the brown skin. Silence the babble of their immigrant tongues.
Let them speak our language, the language of destiny, of greatness.
Liquidate the perverts, the sexual deviants, the homosexual excrement.
Let them die of the disease they've brought upon themselves.
Let the weak,
the crippled,
the handicapped, the deceased perish.
As nature intended, let the poor work. No more handouts. Feed a man a fish and he will eat for a day. Teach him to fish and he will feed himself for a lifetime. And if he refuses to fish, let him be ground into fish food. My countrymen, let us no longer coddle weakness. Let merit rise.
Those who are worthy of success will seize it for themselves.
Let all others be left behind.
Purity,
moral, ethical,
sexual, racial,
intellectual,
artistic purity.
Annihilate everything that stands between us and the high ideal for which we strive. One pure and moral nation, one pure and moral people, one pure and moral world, one right that will endure for 1,000 years. Germans, Aryans, citizens of the world, I call on you for today's evil substitute your future good. Future. Future's arrived at last.
May God forgive you.
Happy he who can forget what cannot be changed.
My children.
Your children are dead. All the children are dead. Go and breed more, cow. There are more wars to come. Why else was your sex given you? To serve. I was a bad king, a sad king, a mad king. I put my faith in ideals. I had a grand kind of new plan for mankind. I'd be a monarch who feels. My heart was bleeding, my reason receding. For truth and justice I feared. I've seen the light now, I'm feeling right now. I've seen the future, my dears. Fascinating fascist, I'm under your spell. Fascinating fascist, I think you just smell. Fascinating fascist, you give me a thrill. Fascinating fascist, I'm feeling a chill.
And when we feel the thrill of your power, we know mankind is in its last hour. Let's go shower.
Fascinating fascist, that's when I remember my natural place.
Fascinating fascists, how can we resist? Liberal opposition cease to exist. Why question where we're headed? It sure looks grand. Fascinating fascist belongs to yours to command.
Fascinating fascist, you got a bum rap. Fascinating fascist, you're back on the map.
Forget about the needy, the world is a mess. Give me nice regalia, let me oppress. We'll crush the weaklings under our heels. We'll take as much of the world as we feel. Watch them kneel.
Fascinating fascist, you're under my skin. Feeling so excited, it made me a sin.
I'm illuminated, completely remade. Now my light is shining, I'm a fascist lampshade.
We seek out victimhood in the politics of despair. We used to be mistaken, now maybe we're taking our share.
I was deluded, my reason polluted, sentimental schlemiel. I thought compassion a rational fashion, I thought it ought to appeal. I was a soft touch and gave much, I offered government grants. I see the truth now, it's claw and tooth now, let moral virtue advance.
Kicked the leftists out of their ass and gave the mongrel races the gas. Great solution! Why question where we're headed? It sure looks grand. Fascinating fascists will always be yours to command.
We believe in virtue and capital gains, and we like our workers content in their chains. Be a good consumer, don't hesitate. Nothing could be finer, be insensate.
The poor and needy get on our nerves. And why waste time with homos and pervs? Let's just kill them.
Fascinating fascists, the right's on the move. No one's gonna stop us, we've got something to prove. We've got all the answers, we're morally pure. If you're sick and tired, we've got the cure.
Why question where we're headed? It sure looks grand. Fascinating fascists, humanity's yours to command. What good can come from fighting your plan? Life in the fascist state is just grand. It's dreamy. The world is ripe for taking, or maybe it's true. Fascinating fascist, tomorrow belongs to you.
Oh, say, can you see the strange fruit swinging from the sour apple tree of liberty? The boy on the ground and the fun all around? Aren't you contented now? Aren't you my contented cow? Aren't you the apple of my eye? Aren't you my pie in the sky? Swing low, sweet charity case, drained of dignity, rags and regiments of a man, dead phrase on another man's lips. Aren't you contented now? Aren't you my contented cow? Come, find a place in my heartland. Suck up the crack and don't look back. No turning back, don't come back, my southern fried fancy man. Come, let me carry you home, my heartbreak. Home to the land of the free and the home of the brave-hearted, hate-hearted, race-heated, heat-hated. Who will give you your life back? Justice too late is just that. Just too late. Let me free you from remembrance. I saw the future herded into boxcars, fuel for the ovens. There are poisons worse yet to come. There is a life I owe the world, but I have plans for it yet. The beautiful is nothing but the beginning of the terrible.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's Cowboy Playhouse time!
That's right!
Boom!
It's Cowboy Playhouse time! It's Cowboy Playhouse time! Frederick and Lucky too, say howdy do to you. Stay tuned for lots of fun. There's fun for everyone. We'll make you laugh and sing and forget everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for Cowboy Fred's Rootin' Tootin' Cowboy Playhouse.
Hooray!
Slowpoke,
Howdy,
Rufus
kids!
the Mule,
Hee-haw, 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 y'all.
and the prettiest little cowgirl in all the West, Miss Trixie.
Boys and girls.
Cowboy Playhouse brought to you by Wonder Bread,
Building strong bodies 12 different ways.
by Welch's Grape Juice,
Gosh, kiddies, it's good.
and by Colgate with Gargle.
Use Colgate, kids. Colgate for that $1 million smile.
And now, boys and girls, the stars of our show, Cowboy Fred and his best little buddy in the whole wide world, Lucky, the littlest cowpoke. Let's hear it, boys and girls!
Hey!
Howdy, kids!
Howdy, Cowboy Fred!
Say howdy, Lucky.
Howdy, Lucky.
Say, Lucky, you're looking awfully duded up today. It's a mighty fine-looking suit you've got on.
Golly thanks, Cowboy Fred.
Well, what's the occasion?
Ain't you heard? I'm running for president in 48. Yeah!
President? You?
Yup, running on the write-in ticket. Gonna do well. Got me a campaign all figured out. Want to hear one I'm running on?
Sure, Lucky. What's your platform?
One school day a year, more pictures in the history books, double sodas for a dime, and 2 Christmases for everybody.
Hooray!
Looks like you've got a solid base of support already.
That ain't the half of it. Got me a cabinet. Got me a whole rootin' tootin' government all picked out. Yeah!
Well, looks like you've been busy, Lucky. So who's going to be in your government?
You're looking at him, cowboy. Step right up there, government. First of all, I got Goofus here as Secretary of Defense.
But Lucky, Goofus is a jackass.
What are you saying, Fred? You think he's overqualified?
Well, I guess that's for you to decide. So who else is going to be in your government, Lucky?
I got Slowpoke here, too.
Hot diggity dog, Washington, here I come.
And what's Slowpoke going to do for you?
Same as he always does. Not too doggone much. I figured that qualifies him for just about any government post.
Well, I guess that just leaves Miss Trixie. What's she going to do for you?
None of your darn business, and plenty of it, too.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Ah,
Yeah! That's some set of qualifications you got there, Miss Trixie.
I don't know, little buddy. Being president's a very difficult job. You have to understand the issues. You have to make policy. You have to make some very difficult decisions. Are you sure you're well qualified?
What are you saying? You think I'm some sort of dummy? Huh!
Well, what about those speeches you'll have to give? I don't mean to be critical, Lucky, but let's face it, you're not very well spoken.
No problemo, Freddy boy. I got it all figured. Got lots of smart guys to write them speeches for me out in the paper. Then all I got to do is read them suckers off. Comes out as easy as shit out of a goose.
Now, Lucky, people will know that you didn't write those speeches yourself.
Don't matter to them at all. As long as the words come out nice and purty.
But it won't matter to them that you're just someone else's mouthpiece.
Well, would you look who's talking now? Which one of us is the dummy, anyway?
Well, I guess stranger things have happened, Lucky. So if you do get elected, what do you want us to call you?
Well, shucks, Fred. If I get elected, you can just call me Lucky. Say, Fred, what's with little Miss Droopy George back there? What's eating her?
Well, she's sad, Lucky, and we're going to find out about her in just a minute. Because you know who we've got on the show today?
Who?
We've got one of Cowboy Fred's very special friends, Dr. D.
Dr. D? Jeepers, I don't like the sound of that. She ain't one of them brainy taps, is she? I don't like them brainy taps.
Well, don't you worry, little buddy. Dr. D is one of our very favorite helpers around Cowboy Fred's ranch.
What'd she do?
Well, she helps people who get sick.
Like she fixes them up when they get broke? Like their arms and legs and heads and stuff?
Well, that's right, Lucky. But Dr. D fixes up their minds.
Yes! She ain't gonna try to fix mine, is she, Fred?
Don't worry, Lucky. I don't think you can give her enough to work with.
Ooh, that's a relief. But what's with the rest of the freak show? I don't like the looks of them guys. They look mighty peculiar to me.
Well, these are some of Dr. D's very special friends. And in just a moment, she's going to tell us all about them. Like this girl who doesn't like to move very much. And that boy with the funny bandage. And look here, boys and girls. It's a cage. And who's inside the cage? Is it a lion?
No.
Is it a gorilla?
No.
No, it's a man. And he looks sad, doesn't he, kids?
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out in just a minute why he's so sad. So what do you think of our guest today, Lucky?
Looks like a bunch of darn retards to me.
Lucky. These are very special people.
You mean they're specially retarded?
Now, Lucky, you behave. Here at Cowboy Fred's Ranch, we're nice to everybody. And besides, our guests have come a long, long way to be with us today.
Well, they should have saved themselves some trouble. Hey, y'all go back to where you came from. We don't want your kind around here.
Lucky, I'm surprised at you. Don't you remember what I told you about the golden rule?
The guy with the gold gets to rule?
No, Lucky. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Ain't nobody's doing nothing to me. Not if I get the chance to do it to them first. Ha!
Lucky, I'm surprised at you. I don't know what's gotten into you today.
You, for one thing. You try sitting around here all day with some guy making you say what he wants and his arm halfway up your backside. Shucks, I feel like I'm president already.
Lucky, now you behave. Kids, don't pay any attention to Lucky. He must have gotten up on the wrong side of the bed today, don't you think?
Wrong side of the box, you mean? Hey, kids, know where this mean old cuss keeps me? In a box. Ha! I never get to go anywhere less than he lets me.
That's right. And if he keeps on misbehaving, we'll have to put Lucky back in the box, won't we, kids?
Yeah. Back in the box.
Where it's dark and lonely and scary and nobody ever comes to see you, not unless Cowboy Fred says so. Because remember, Lucky, you're not the only one that can do this job. Right, kids?
Yeah.
So what do you say, Lucky? Do you want to go back in the box or are you going to be good?
Yup.
And you're ready to talk to Dr. D?
Yup.
And you're going to be nice?
Yup.
All right, then. Come on out, Dr. D.
Hey, hello, Cowboy Fred.
Say hello to Dr. D, kids.
Hi, Dr. D. Good morning, children.
Say hello to Dr. D, Lucky.
Yeah! If that's the doctor, give me the cure.
Now, Lucky, you behave. Remember what I told you.
Talk about a scientific endowment. Holy Ben Casey, I got an awful ache. Help me, Doc. I'm getting stiff all over.
Now, Lucky, you behave or it's back in the box. I mean it.
Well,
Are you going to be good?
well.
All right, now be polite and say hello.
Hi, Doc. What you cooking?
Well, hello, Lucky. I'm very pleased to meet you.
Likewise, I'm sure.
Now, Dr. D, can you tell us about the very special friend you brought with you today? What's wrong with this poor girl?
Well, Cowboy Fred, this young woman suffers from what we call a split personality. Sometimes she's very, very sad, and sometimes she's very, very angry. And that's what makes her dangerous, boys and girls.
Golly, Dr. D, that's so tragic. What happened to the poor girl to make her this way?
Well, Miss Trixie, this poor young woman saw her husband burned alive before her eyes. Some men came in the night with torches and crosses, and they were just very angry.
How come, Doc?
Well, Lucky, this young woman had gone and done something very, very silly. She had gotten married to a colored man.
Oh.
And some people that lived next to her thought that wasn't such a good idea. So they went over to her house to express their constitutionally guaranteed right of free speech.
Gave her good talking to, huh?
That's right, Lucky. Unfortunately, things got a little out of hand, and well, you know what happened. Still, you can't say she didn't know what she was getting into in the first place. Right, children? Wasn't she a silly lady?
Silly lady. Gosh, Dr. D, I still don't understand. How'd she get all split up in her personalities and everything?
Well, Miss Trixie, while the crowd was still busy with their protest against miscegenation, what do you think this silly lady did? She went back into her house and down into the cellar where she'd hidden her 2 little babies, and then she strangled them with her own hands, which was an awful thing to do. How was that going to change anything? She was trying to hang herself when the sheriff came. They put her on trial, of course, but they couldn't convict her. And do you know why, children?
Because she was crazy.
That's right, because she was crazy. She didn't stop to think that if you do things that other people don't like, sometimes they get mad. And that's why it's so important to learn how to get along well with others.
So there's no hope for her at all, Dr. D?
I'm afraid not, Miss Trixie. She doesn't really exist anymore now, does she? She's what we call a half-finished person, neither dead nor alive. She just can't escape her own memories.
Well, that's quite a story, Dr. D. So what do you think of that, Lucky? Isn't that sad?
Oh, it's not so bad.
Well, how come?
Well, her husband did end up the toast of the town. Yes, there she flows! Fire! Mayday! Send to the marine!
Well, gosh, Dr. D, that's an interesting kind of coat they have for her. Can you tell us what it's for?
It's called a straitjacket, Cowboy Fred.
It looks like fun and good exercise, too. But would you tell us what it's for?
Certainly. Some people say a straitjacket is a good demonstration of what we call dialectics.
You mean like L. Ron Hubbard?
No, Lucky, dialectics. It's the way we analyze things philosophically. The straitjacket is a metaphor for freedom. Watch. The more she struggles, the more tightly she binds herself into her own fate. Like people say, everyone is his own prison. That's why the straitjacket is so humane. It really should be called the freedom jacket. True freedom is achieved through catatonia.
Ha! One nation under sedation. Is that the ticket, Dr. D?
Something like that, Lucky.
Say, Doc, where's the bandit boy over there? He looks like he's just about ready to bust at the seams. Think it's time to give him a little dose of freedom?
Yes, Dr. D. Tell us about him.
I'd be happy to, Cowboy Fred. This poor young man suffers from one of the great tragedies of youth, an obsession with sexuality. Let this be a lesson to you, children. He's been reduced to an idiot. And do you know why?
Excessive masturbation?
That's right, Miss Trixie, excessive masturbation. And this is what it leads to. Nonetheless, science can help. We call this the masturbation bandage, a construction as simple as it is ingenious and guaranteed to re-educate even the most hardened little offender. Miss Trixie?
I don't fuck the world! I don't fuck the planet! I want the world's asshole! I don't fuck him till it screams! I don't fuck him till it begs! I don't fuck him till it bleeds!
Yes! Talk about an angry young man! Hey, buddy, put a sock in it!
Remember, children, it is the bestial in mankind that is our enemy. If we can eliminate the animal in man, we can eliminate the brutality that comes along with it. The head, children, the brain will be our salvation. Sexuality is the principal torture, not only of the young, but of the old. We must redirect it when we can and exterminate it when we must.
Gosh, Dr. D, that sounds pretty, well, draconian.
Well, Cowboy Fred, we don't have much choice now, do we? We've allowed sexual freedom much too early. It is the equivalent of placing a loaded gun in the hands of our youth. I think it's safe to say that we want our children to remain children.
Even when they become adults. Ha!
That's right, Lucky. Our quest is to root out the sexual urge, to replace it with high-mindedness, abstinence.
Hey, buddy, just say no!
You see, children, a polluted youth creates a polluted future. This treatment represents a victory of reason over raw instincts. After 4 weeks in this bandage, even the most wicked little boy will be cured. Pay attention, children. Miss Trixie, remove the bandage. Revolting. Clearly, he requires further treatment. We'll try him again in 3 weeks. At the moment, our hands are tied by relatively primitive methods. In the future, there will be no need for sexuality, or rather, sexuality will be safely adapted and controlled. Reproduction itself will be achieved through artificial insemination and careful genetic selection. Those with the propensity for certain diseases or unacceptable hereditary predispositions simply will not be born.
But gosh, Dr. D, what about the
hunger for pleasure? Unfortunately, that can't be eradicated. For those who can't master it, Their animalistic tendencies will be redirected into pornography. Can you say pornography, children?
Pornography.
That's right, children. And through science, we found that pornography is actually better for you than real sex. Images of sex, fantasies of sex are much more satisfying to the human animal than the sexual act itself. Like the old saying goes, the most important sexual organ is the brain. And if the brain's happy, the body will be happy too. Besides which, pornography removes the threat of disease, reduces the occurrence of undesirable pregnancies, and makes the entire experience of sexual desire completely controllable.
But, Dr. D, what about sex as an expression of love?
Oh, yeah, my friend. As I'd like to say, sex is sex and love is love, and never the twain shall meet. But seriously, through science we found that mixing sex and love could lead to some awfully confusing emotions. Nature intended sex to be a means only for the survival of the species, and we think it's best to keep it that way.
I've murdered my own son. I've murdered my Jesus. Give me my rod.
Jeepers creepers! What's eating him?
Give it to him.
Yes! Talk about beating off! We ought to put him together with Bandage Boy. I think they hit it off good.
Golly, Dr. D, what's wrong with this poor man? He looks plumb down in the mouth.
Sure does. Can't you do anything to help him?
A difficult case, cowboy friend. This one thinks he's God. He feels that by doing this, he can somehow atone for the creation of the universe. He used to be a teacher, and he was very famous for his severe discipline and the uncompromising morality in which he preached. Sadly, he fell in love with one of his students, a gifted young man who, unfortunately for him, took his teaching very seriously. The young man turned into quite a little idealist. Unfortunately, this did not make him popular with his fellow students. Because he was so sickeningly well-behaved, they called him Little Jesus. There was some gossip that Mr. Zabal might have even had a hand in this extramarital creation, which made his love for the boy worse. In any case, one day Lord Zabal became provoked at his class and threatened an awful punishment. Little Jesus, ever the Lamb of God, offered to take the punishment on their behalf. So moved by his selflessness, his creator assented. He did even more than what was called for by allowing the little sinners to administer the punishment. They didn't hesitate. Little Jesus failed to survive the beating. Lord Zabal doesn't have a son anymore. The town lost its most useful and respected teacher, and the history of medicine has gained a stunning achievement. At last, we have God as a patient.
No, free me from my shame.
Hey, buddy boy! I hear you're God. Is this your universe?
Yes, this is my work. I've created it all.
Well, don't quit the day job.
Okay, Weisenheimer.
Drop the puppet laughing, boy.
Who are you?
Never mind who we are.
You'll find out soon enough.
What's this about? What have I done wrong? Are you from the government?
Kid show. Nice cover.
Cute setup.
Nobody suspects.
Nice and innocent.
Suspects what? What's going on?
That's what we'd like to know.
More hair than meets the eye. You got your stooges, your fall
All
guys.
these saps to do your dirty work for you.
Like that Sawbones and that sex doctor. Pretty hot stuff, that one.
Yeah, I got a build on her that doesn't quit. And that cowgirl, too. Nice set of six guys. Too bad you had to mix them up in this. Could go hard for them.
Real hard.
Mixed up in what? What do you accuse me of doing?
That's it. Play dumb.
He's cute, ain't he, Roscoe?
He's so cute, I want to take him home, Ross.
What do you think we're talking about, bright boy?
Brainwashing.
Propaganda.
On a kid show, no less.
Ain't right.
Should not be allowed.
Bad for the country.
Bad for everybody. You especially.
Where are you taking me?
Got people want to talk to you.
Big people.
And you better play ball, get me?
You better sing and sing sweet.
You got plenty to talk about, don't you? Guy like you's got plenty to hide.
Plenty of secrets, plenty of friends.
Plenty of friends with secrets.
I've got nothing to say to anyone.
We'll see about that, right, Roscoe?
That's right, Pettigrew. Come on, sauerkraut, you're out of here.
Stop. Wait, I want to see my lawyer. Do you call this justice?
We don't call nothing justice, do we, Roscoe?
That's right, Pettigrew. Not our department.
I am God. Who will comfort me? Who will draw my word back out of the void? I've murdered my own son. Life is an open maw, red with blood. It devours itself like an insane animal. I too am devoured. I, the excrement of my own creation. I, my own vomit. I, the putrid cyst of my own cancer. I am the death camps, the knock at the door at the dead of night. I am he who was taken away to be murdered in silence. I am the beast, the undiscovered crime. I am my own wasteland. Even I, a fiction within my own fiction, cannot escape the finality of the silence that awaits me. I too, God, seek only the annihilation of memory, to be free from what I've wrought.
Goodbye, kid.
This couldn't happen again. This is that once in a lifetime. This is the thrill divine. What's more, this never happened before. Though I have played for a lifetime, that such as you can suddenly be mine. Mine to hold as I'm holding you now, and yet never
The committee will now come to order. I am Senator Mills presiding. I'd like to extend my personal gratitude to the distinguished senators here gathered. Senator Carnahan, Senator Young, Senator Burton, Senator Thorogood, and Senator Amos. And once again extend the thanks of a grateful nation for the long hours you have expended in this painful, necessary, and ongoing duty. A duty none of us has chosen, but each of us has proudly borne in the service of our great nation and for the protection of its essential freedoms. We have a witness here before us today, gentlemen and ladies, one this committee has long sought to examine. Do you understand, sir, why you have been called before this committee?
I do not.
Well, I assure you, you will soon understand well enough. Now, will you please state your name and occupation for the record?
Frederick of Prussia.
And your occupation, Mr. O. Prussia.
Of Prussia.
I beg your pardon?
Frederick of Prussia. It's an historical honorific.
Now, what precisely do you mean by that?
I don't mean anything, Senator. It's a name history's bestowed on me.
Oh, I see. Apparently, this distinguished committee has the honor of having before it one of history's great men.
That too.
You joke, sir? You mock this committee?
Not at all, Senator. History also knows me as Frederick the Great.
Well, sir, it appears that history has a more exalted opinion of you and your qualities than I do. Or perhaps it is from you yourself that this high opinion derives.
I'm not responsible for what they write about me. Nonetheless, there I am in all the books. You can look me up if you like.
Oh, you will be looked up, sir. I do promise you that. You'll be looked up, down, and sideways for this committee, sir.
Which is it, Mr. O. Prussia? Or should we just call you Frederick the Great?
My name is Friedrich Wilhelm Hohenzollern II, formerly Prince of Brandenburg, Silesia, Saxony, Pomerania, Altmark, Ansbach, and the Rhineland, conqueror of Bavaria, Bohemia, and Friesland, King of Prussia, and progenitor of the modern German state.
Place of residence.
Los Angeles, California.
What do you do there?
I'm retired. I do a little consulting.
And before your retirement?
World leader, military genius, head of state, that sort of thing.
And as head of state, exactly what were your areas of responsibility?
Well, as an absolutist monarch, I guess you'd say they were pretty extensive. I was more or less in charge.
Which is it, Mr. O. Prussia, more or less?
More.
In fact, you were completely in charge. Is that not the case? You answered to no one in this state of yours.
I answered to my intellect, my conscience, and my historical destiny.
Oh, that's all very well and good, Mr. O. Prussia, but in fact there was no actual superior or supervisor from whom you received orders. No actual person.
That's correct.
No political or governmental body to which you answered. No Senate, no Congress, no Parliament, no Privy Council.
That's correct.
No body of law, no civic institution. In fact, not even to the people themselves. Isn't that correct?
I did answer to the people in a roundabout way.
Very roundabout, it seems.
In fact, there was no legislative or judicial restraint placed upon your actions whatsoever. You simply made and unmade the laws to suit your own purposes.
Well, I suppose you could put it that
In
way.
short, Mr. O'Prussia, you were a
Now
tyrant.
that's a harsh word.
That's a harsh thing, Mr. O'Prussia, an evil thing. In this country, at least, we hold to the principle of the government by the consent of the
A
governed.
principle by which I'm most fascinated.
Are you indeed? Well, you have a funny way of showing it. In fact, were you not the de facto dictator of a totalitarian state?
Not at all. I was an enlightened despot.
Oh, I see. Would you care to enlighten us to exactly what that is?
Well, the principle's very antique. It goes back to Plato, actually. It recognizes that the mass of men are lazy, ill-informed, think only about themselves, and can be worked into genuine enthusiasm only by sporting events and mass entertainment. They act mostly on the basis of their emotions or their prejudices. They're inclined to be racist, xenophobic, desperate to cling to what's theirs, and envious of what is possessed by others. In short, they lack the civic and moral virtue necessary to act for the good of the whole of their society.
Just where exactly are you going with this, Mr. O'Prussia?
I'm trying to enlighten you, Senator. Recognizing this melancholy truth about mankind, the ideal state allows those of greatest ability to rise by virtue of their demonstrated gifts. It is they who exercise the actual power within a society, and who also then bear a greater moral responsibility, which is the obligation to act for the ultimate benefit of all.
So it is up to these enlightened men, and an occasional woman, I presume, to make the decisions for everyone else.
Crudely put, yes.
What about elections, voting, representative government, the voice of the people expressing itself through its own institutions?
A thoroughly good thing. The illusion of participation by those who are governed allows the citizenship to disregard the participation, even to despise it. You found that, I think.
I beg your pardon, sir.
Barely half your people vote, do they not? And most of that half scarcely know what they're voting for.
Sir, in this country, an American's right to vote or not to vote or vote as ignorantly as he chooses is his inalienable right. And I will not sit idly by and allow you to besmirch it with all your foreign flapdoodle.
I do apologize, Senator.
Back to the issue, Mr. O'Prussia. This elite that you're describing. So it's for them to decide how people will live their lives. What they should want and what they should value, what they should work for and what they should believe, even what they should suffer for, in fact, even die for? Is that what you're saying?
Well, people need to be told these things. You can't expect them to be born knowing them.
I can indeed, Mr. O'Prussia, and in this country, we take pride in the fact that our people make up their own minds, educated or uneducated, informed or uninformed, as they see fit. It's for the ordinary American to decide what course their government takes, and I don't care what kind of fancy pants education he may have or not have. It's the American people themselves that chart the course of our great ship of state.
But how can they? How can they possibly master all the facts necessary to understand the complex problems with which every day the government must struggle? And what do their opinions matter when they're based not on rationale or information, but on hearsay and prejudice? Isn't that why leaders are necessary? And shouldn't they be the very best available? And if they are the best, shouldn't they be listened to?
Mr. O'Prussia, what you're describing is nothing short of an absolute tyranny of the privileged few over the mass of their fellow citizens. And I can assure you that no such system will ever be tolerated in this great land of ours.
Okay, let's just cut to the chase here, Fritzy boy. Are you or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Oh, this is idiotic.
No, it's for this committee to decide what is idiotic, sir, not you. Now, are you or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
I refuse to answer such an absurd question. For heaven's sake, I'm the father of modern fascism.
Oh, don't you bandy words with this committee, you ignorant, hiney bastard! We know perfectly well what you up to. You came here to this country to undermine the very foundations of democracy.
I came here because I found the climate congenial in all ways.
Answer the question, you pinko spy!
I'm a naturalized citizen of the United States. I took my loyalty oath.
Mr. Prussia!
Oh, Prussia.
Mr. Old Prussia! You were formerly a German national, were you not?
That's correct.
And I see by your file that you played, shall we say, a very prominent role in the last war.
I did have something to do with it.
Yes, and while many of your former associates are currently languishing in prison, you appear to be living in comfortable retirement in sunny California.
I'm fortunate in that respect, yes.
Yes, under exactly what circumstances did you come to the United States?
Well, let's just say I performed certain services, Joe.
Such as?
Services related to information sharing. It was a very active field after the war. Your country had a number of vital concerns and was willing to make
Yes,
certain
I see.
accommodations to address them.
Yes, well, perhaps we'll set this question aside for the moment. Nonetheless, what reason does this committee have to believe that you are not here precisely for the reason that the distinguished senator just now suggested? That is to undermine our great American system of democracy.
Senator, I assure you, no one believes more ardently in the future of this great land of yours and its superb system than I do.
Then what exactly, may I ask, is all this talk about rule by the elite?
But isn't that what your system is founded on? The triumph of the individual with the greatest determination and drive? Would you, ladies and gentlemen, be sitting here today in positions of power and trust had you not earned it through your brains, skills, and superior abilities?
All very complimentary, Mr. of Prussia. But the difference, and you should know this from your citizenship classes, is that we are elected representatives.
Yes, but who do you represent?
This committee will ask the question, sir, not you.
But how do you finance your campaigns? By whose support are you put in office? Is it not others like yourselves, men who care enough for their country's destiny, not only to work actively on its behalf, but to foot the bill for it, to pay the majority of the taxes, to create the very substance of its wealth, its ideas, its future? Who else should you represent?
Do not seek to confuse the issue, sir.
Gentlemen and ladies, I assure you, I'm on your side.
Time will decide exactly whose side you're on, Mr. of Prussia. Now, did you or did you not lead your country into a series of ruinous wars?
They weren't ruinous. We did very well. We're simply following an economic and historical imperative. We acquired new territory, expanded our markets, unified our people. We became a world power.
And I suppose you think that excuses your actions?
Well, you're a world power, aren't you? How did you get that way?
We're not talking about the United States here. We're talking about you, Mr. of Prussia. Now, exactly what did you ever do to benefit your people?
I created the concept of the modern civil service. I created a bureaucracy based on merit, not privilege. I instituted agricultural reforms. I turned an idle aristocracy into disciplined servants of the state. I promoted education and culture. I established the first agricultural credit institutions in Europe. I established our first central bank.
But in fact, didn't all these so-called achievements only benefit the wealthy and privileged? The same elite you were talking about just a moment ago. Didn't in fact the majority of your citizens remain virtual serfs, striving simply to meet their most basic needs, while all around them was wealth and splendor? Wasn't it the case that all of these so-called reforms you instituted were only to make the rich richer and to ensure that the mass of your citizens would remain a docile and reliable tax base? What did you ever do for the common people?
I gave them the potato.
Oh.
This committee is not amused by your sense of humor,
It's true,
sir.
the potato was a big deal. It helped a lot.
Potatoes are all well and good, Mr. of Prussia, but didn't you also create the kind of misguided Prussian militarism and thirst for domination that led to most of the European wars of the 19th and 20th centuries? Wasn't it your name that was constantly evoked as the banner of German nationalism, even at the very moment that Adolf Hitler was pronouncing the official birth of the Nazi Third Reich? Unto the spiritual father, the historical progenitor of the murderous bloodbaths of World War I and World War II, of a century of collective tragedy that saw not just the annihilation of generations of young men all over the globe, the suffering of untold numbers of women and children, but the extermination of millions of innocent people? And a program of calculated genocide unmatched in history for its sadistic cruelty.
Well, if you want to get picky.
Picky? Picky, sir? What about the human suffering? What about the human cost of your so-called economic and historical imperative?
Can anything worthwhile be achieved without loss? Is there not some human price for every human gain? If one man becomes wealthy, does not another man become poor?
Ha! I knew he was a red right down to his underdrawers. That's pure commie claptrap if I ever heard it.
Exactly, Senator. And it is exactly the attitude that I've come here to help you to eradicate. There are prices for everything in life, and the man who is willing to pay that price deserves everything his abilities can win for him. True human freedom is in the right to compete.
That's well and good, Mr. of Prussia, but surely you're not asking this committee to just overlook your crimes against humanity.
What good is dwelling on the past? The past won't help you in the fight in which you are now engaged. A fight for your very survival. Your adversaries are on every side. Do they hold to the rules of gentlemanly conduct? Do they bother themselves with ethics, human rights, moral niceties? No, senators, they will destroy you by any means possible. What good is there in you holding the moral high ground when they stand ready to cut the ground from under your feet?
What about the moral authority of leadership? If we are no better than our enemies, what ethical right have we to prevail?
Senators, the world is now poised on a knife edge. You face a critical choice. Do you go down the path of the great welfare state that coddles and meddles and regulates away every human initiative? You become the great trough from which all your citizens feed. From birth to death, you guide them and educate them and care for them as simply being born enough to entitle them to a place in the world, a place they never won for themselves. In short, do you adopt the very ideology of your enemies?
Never, sir, never!
Senators! If there is any hope in realizing the kind of future I envision, that we envision, it lies in the hands of your great nation. People don't want more politics, they want less. They don't want strife and struggle, they want to be left alone. They don't want an activist government making decisions on their behalf. What they really want is no government at all.
I am becoming deeply confused here, Mr. of Prussia. The future of the nation is in the hands of its elected leaders, is it not?
The way of the future, ladies and gentlemen, is in market capitalism itself. It is the market that will bring your enemies to their knees.
Now, Mr. of Prussia, certainly all of us are damn proud of the American businessman, and are well aware that it's good old American get up and go that has made this country great. But I'll be doggone if I can see how business itself has any role to play in the fight against global communism.
Senators, it is your corporations that will win this fight if you'll just get out of their way. What do the peoples of the world really want? They don't want little red books. They don't want to sit in mass meetings and be told how they're all brothers. They don't want to be forced into loving each other.
They don't even like each other.
No! What they want is comfort, convenience. They want what's new. The past makes them ill. They can't forget it quickly enough. They don't want reality either. They want dreams. They want wonderful fantasies to relieve the monotony of their lives. They want to indulge every childish, trivial, pleasurable impulse that they feel and not to feel guilty about it. They don't want order and discipline. They want ease and comfort. Gentlemen and ladies, you can give them that. But what's more important, the promise of it, the idea that it's available right here, right now. All they have to do is reach out and take it. Of course, they must have cash in hand, but that's the beauty of it. The more they know they can have,
the more they believe they must have.
And if you can create that need, and then create that need on a global scale, then you have created an inexhaustible fuel of human longing that will power your economy into an unstoppable juggernaut of progress. Because that's what we're talking about here, Senators. Progress!
Progress is good.
That's right, Senator. No more wars. No more nations striving against nation. All the world unified into one global market. Each person striving
for the things they think will make them happy.
And what does it matter if they attain them or not? That's their business. Your business is to make that dream available. Make it available in 100,000, nay, 100 million different ways, represented by 100 million different products.
There's something in this.
And there's no need to stop with simple commodities. Every aspect of the human imagination, from the highest art to the lowest, from the most sophisticated pleasure to the most vulgar, can be turned into some sort of commodity. And once you achieve this, people all over the globe
will no longer be afflicted with a misery that has kept the world in chains for 10,000 years.
Brand loyalty will replace national loyalty. Religious fanaticism will be defeated by the religion of consumption. The peoples of the world will finally focus on their own lives, on finding fulfillment through the products that you make and the experiences that you offer. And they will work, and work happily, forgetting about anything else except the dream that they pursue.
Political dissension will stop.
Conflict of all kinds will stop.
Politics itself will be despised and ignored.
Elections will simply become another form of mass entertainment.
A kind of biennial or quadrennial horse race on the national scale.
No more wasted human effort.
Everything and everyone will take its place in one great chorus of humanity that strives
and struggles to fulfill the greatest of all American dreams.
That each man is free to work to achieve the happiness he is capable of, unassisted, succeeding or failing on his own terms.
With only himself to blame if he fails.
And only himself to thank if he succeeds.
Unencumbered by intrusive government.
Free to consume and to consume in perpetual freedom.
One nation.
One globe.
One planet under the great God of the free market.
One and indivisible. Now and forever. Well, that's some mighty fancy talk for a poor old chuckle-headed country boy like myself. I don't mind admitting that a fair amount of what you said went over my head, like a ring-necked pheasant bust loose from a briar patch. But I got this to say. I've never met a man, foreigner or not, with such a profound appreciation for the beauties of the American system. Oh, the potential of that great system to bring peace and prosperity to all the benighted nations on our suffering planet. And I think I can speak for the entire committee in saying that we welcome a man of your dedication to the great cause of American freedom.
A society must be ever vigilant of its freedoms. And you, sir, seem uniquely qualified in aiding our fair land in this never-ending fight.
It's true, sir, that this committee still needs to confer. But let me say how deeply we appreciate the time you have given us here today, the candor with which you have answered this committee's questions, and the obvious and passionate dedication you showed to the welfare of this your adopted nation. We are proud to have you among us, sir. I believe we have much to do together.
Senator, you have expressed my most ardent hope. I only wish to serve.
And so you shall, sir, so you shall.
Video music, graphic, announce. Stand by, everyone. In 5, 4, and cue music. Cue graphic, and cue announce.
And now, Celebrity Soup with Dee Dee Montgomery. Celebrity Soup brought to you by Xbox 2 from Microsoft. Xbox 2, why go anywhere today? And by Sony PlayStation 7. As media thinker Stephen Duncombe says, I've seen the future, and it's a Sony. And now, Dee Dee Montgomery.
Good afternoon, darlings, and welcome, market beaters. I'm Dee Dee Montgomery, and today at Celebrity Soup with a wholesome treat I have in store for you. Everyone got a firm grip on their portfolios? Because today we're going to be taking a look at the business world and find out just what the market has to say to you. My guest today is a man who's going to tell us all about it. He's one of my oldest and dearest friends, and we're so excited to have him here on Celebrity Soup for the very first time. Former European monarch, billionaire investor, financial guru, and now best-selling author of the new book, Business Fascism, A New Deal for America. Huge, huge applause, everyone, for Frederick of Prussia. I'm so marvelous to see you. Welcome.
Thanks, Dee Dee. It's a pleasure to be here.
Look at you. Aren't you incredible? Audience, doesn't he look marvelous?
Yeah.
What are you now? Something like 200 years old, isn't it?
280, actually.
280? Audience, do we believe him? Naughty man, why, it's simply incredible. And look at the kind of shape he's in. Frederick, you amazing creature, how do you do it? What's your secret? Tell.
No secret, Dee Dee, just diet and exercise. You see, I've been a vegetarian for something like the last 100 years or so. But I think what's most important is to stay active.
Well, heaven knows you've done that. You just can't stop this man, can you, audience? Why, you're positively everywhere. Not only are you one of the world's richest men, you're recognized as one of today's leading business thinkers. And now this thrilling new book, Wall Street is just gaga over it. The critics are swooning, calling it the must-read of the season. It was my summer beach book. But honestly, Frederick, after you've already accomplished so much, where do you find the energy? Why not simply live the good life and enjoy the fruits of 3 centuries of hard work?
I think that's the difference, Dee Dee. To me, it's not work. One of the keys to longevity is having a passion for what you do.
And passionate you are. Positively stingy when it comes to hardcore economic thinking. Why, when I was reading the chapters on the capitalist revolution, my frozen tartini positively melted in my hand. Cha-cha-cha, ow! Cha-cha-cha, ow! Yeah, the Cabana boys had to absolutely scurry.
Why, Dee Dee, I had no idea I could get you so hot and bothered.
Well, you know me, Frederick, darling. I just hear supply side and my little economic engine just starts racing.
Well, Dee Dee, you're right to be so revved up. We are living in one of the most exciting periods in history. We've changed the experience of human life on every level.
Thrilling times for us all, Frederick. But what does it really mean, this capitalist revolution of yours? I hope we're not going to have to take to the streets.
Oh, no, Dee Dee, no chance of that. It's already happened.
Well, thank heavens for that. There's nothing more tiresome than a bunch of badly dressed people in earth shoes, crowding the boulevards and shouting slogans. All that misdirected anger? I always say you gotta free your mind instead. Yes, resolve your personal issues and the rest just follows. The important thing is to get along with each other.
That's right, Dee Dee. It's about consensus. And for the first time in history, we've arrived at not just a national consensus, but an international one. What's good for the market is good for all of us.
And do we like it, audience? Do we? Do we do we Because what does the free market mean, audience?
Better shopping choices!
I mean, honestly, Frederick, what got into us in the 60s? The country, I mean, of course. Certainly I wasn't around then. We had people marching, protesting, actually trying to bring down the government. Such a shameful thing to do. Then there was that awful war, that Vietnam thing, which none of us even understood until the movies started coming out. And those civil rights problems, and all those terrible riots, and all those angry black people. Why, everyone was just so unhappy. It felt like we were on the verge of a real revolution.
We were, Dee Dee. But the real revolution wasn't in the streets. It was in the discovery of self-indulgence.
But Frederick, darling, you make self-indulgence sound like a dirty word.
Not at all, Dee Dee. It was the key to everything. We suddenly had an inflated population of spoiled middle-class kids whose only real interests were sex, drugs, and self-fulfillment. And they suddenly realized, well, why not? Let's make it all about me. We want to get high and get laid. The protest marches were just a more primitive form of rave. A little messier, of course. Good drugs, though.
Oh, and how? Now I'm giving myself away. Well, never mind. The important thing is that those frightening days are over with. They are, aren't they, Frederick?
I think you can count on it, Dee Dee. We are living in the corporate state now. There's no need to settle our differences. Now we can just erase them instead.
The corporate state? Oh, it sounds so well organized. In me, I'm so hopeless. Will they let me in? Can I belong? Can I be a citizen too?
Don't worry, Dee Dee, darling. You already are.
Oh, but how splendid! When did it happen? Did I vote?
Well, that's the beauty of it, Dee Dee. It didn't take a vote or violence or a coup d'etat. It just happened. Like a force of nature itself. Because that's what the market is, Dee Dee, if politicians will just get out of the way. And with a little persuasion, that's what finally happened. People were made to see the government for what it really is. Superfluous.
Fascinating. A non-existent government, and yet it takes up so much space.
But what does it really do? It tries to do what business does so much more efficiently. Figure out what people want and then provide it. The corporations are the ones who really know how to provide human services. Prisons, healthcare, education, urban development, water and power, pensions, care for the elderly, social security. The private sector knows how to deliver the goods, and finally we're being allowed to do it.
And don't tell me you and your naughty friends aren't profiting handsomely either.
Well, of course we are, Dee Dee. What's wrong with that? It's self-interest that makes the system work. That's why we've made the kind of strides we have, because we finally managed to eliminate the kind of moral qualms that used to be associated with that idea. The human animal is about self-interest, pure and simple.
Now you're on my territory, Frederick, darling. Audience, isn't this what Dee Dee's always saying? We have to love ourselves first. And do we? Do we? Do we? Yes, we do. Now, Frederick, what are some of the other good things we can expect to come out of this little revolution of yours?
Well, one exciting thing is already well underway, virtually accomplished, in fact, the vertical integration of media. And frankly, Dee Dee, I think we're all going to like it.
Well, heavens, I'm goose-pimply just thinking about it. But Frederick, darling, aren't some people nervous about this kind of media conglomeration?
Well, to be honest, Dee Dee, there are always going to be those kind of Luddites out there. People who insist on living in the past, but we just have to drag them forward with us, whether they like it or not.
Now, darling, slow down a minute and don't take offense. But what about freedom of the press? Control of information? I mean, not to be contentious, but if every means of communication, including this program, were owned by just a few corporations...
You know what they say, Dee Dee. A free press is guaranteed to every man who owns one. The important thing is to own one. And the more of them you own, the greater your freedom of the press. But seriously, Dee Dee, media conglomeration is nothing to be worried about. It's synergy we're after, a unified, efficient information stream. Today's information consumer wants that. He doesn't like confusion. In an increasingly uncertain world, he is looking for certainty, and the vertically integrated media provides that. Music, news, books, television, entertainment, advertising all come together to service the same needs in a unified, non-divisive, non-conflicted way.
Well, we certainly all want to eliminate conflict, don't we, audience? Yes, we do. Ooh, ooh. What does our inner voice say? Tune out the noise. Bring in the joys. Yeah, yeah. But what about the consumer, Frederick? Who is this person and what do they really want? I mean, what about my needs? Audience, isn't this what we're all asking Frederick here? How do you give me what I want?
But that's just it, Dee Dee. It's just by asking that question that we've achieved what we have. The new business thinking is based on a revolutionary concept, reducing the marketplace itself to a community of one. We've managed to convince our citizens that nothing relevant exists outside themselves. They're entitled to everything they can imagine. We've convinced them that they exist solely to fulfill their own selfhood.
Now we're getting somewhere. Yes, audience? Because as we say here, if we can't fill our own self, our self will never be full.
That's right, Dee Dee. And how is that selfhood most perfectly expressed? Through the products we buy. Through the choices we make as enlightened consumers. And how do we become enlightened?
I don't know that, Tears. Tell us.
Through individual-specific marketing. We can now discover the wants and needs of not just a demographic, but of each and every individual. Addressable advertising is just the beginning. Once we know who a person is and what they want, we can sell specifically to that need. It's like the old concept of prayer. Once upon a time, you pleaded with some far-off divinity to understand your most private needs and then hope that you were heard. The difference is, God was never listening. We are.
But Frederick, I see it all so clearly now. How mystical it all is. How like a poem. Where all of us, within the market's warm embrace, as if inside an egg. It's all about human hope, human need, human longing. That's the real business of business, is it not?
You couldn't be more right, Dee Dee. The true fuel of our economy is the enormous abundance of frustrated hope, and the promise that the satisfaction of that hope is always just one new purchase away. We've created an entirely new ideal of what life should be, the advertised life. It's all there, waiting to be lived product by product, each one with its own promise of bliss. And no matter how many times they buy and are disappointed, they see the failure not as ours, but as their own.
In other words, if we fail to be appropriately astute consumers, we've only failed ourselves. You see, audience? It's always the same issue, taking personal responsibility. Once we make our choice, we must own our choice.
That's right, Dee Dee. And when we fail to do that, how does that make us feel?
Worthless, humiliated, exposed. Yes, audience, isn't that what it's like?
Precisely. And so with an aching heart, they return to buy again, still seeking to heal that inner emptiness. Never for a moment did they question that the emptiness comes not from within, but from without, from us. And not only do they not turn away in disgust, they pay closer attention than ever. They strain to decode and absorb the new lesson, resolved to succeed this time. This time they will achieve the bliss we promised them, and if they do not, they need not despair. They can try again tomorrow.
Yes,
oh yes, certainly behind our sunny images we may threaten them darkly with abandonment. They will be unhip, uncool, unloved, out of date, left behind. But it's really just a threat. Like a wise and loving parent, they will not abandon us, nor will we ever now abandon them. We've erased any real connection they used to have to each other. They've been taught the basic lesson of business, Dee Dee, that nobody owes anything to anyone unless they have a contract.
Yes,
everything they thought opposed has been ground to dust. Labor unions, meaningful political parties, the press, the government, religion itself, gone! Populism itself has been redefined to mean the triumph of the lowest common denominator, and a derisive rage directed at anything that questioned it. We're a hard copy society now, Dee Dee, an ETV nation!
Yes, Frederick, when I see that, that's quite enough for now. I think we've all got the idea, haven't we, audience? And I can see by Glinda the Good's frantic gestures on the sideline that it's time for us to go to a commercial. Stay right where you are, market fans. We'll be right back with more of today's guest, Frederick of Prussia. Darling, you're doing a fabulous job, true. But let's go a little easier on the long, boring speeches. We're losing everyone to Oprah. We know what we're after, don't we? Happy, happy audience. And how do we keep them happy? We entertain them, sweetie.
It's time they were told.
Yes, but don't overdo it. They can't absorb it all, and besides, they don't give a shit.
No, they don't, do they? And the more you tell them how you're going to fuck them, the more their eyes glaze over.
And I don't blame them.
Do we have a problem over here, Mr.
Oh,
Montgomery?
no, Precious. Don't you worry about a thing. Frederick here just gets so enthusiastic. But everything's going to be just super now. Don't you worry about a thing, sweetie.
That's great to hear, Dee Dee. Really great. We're back in 30 seconds!
Ready to go. Bitch. Now, darling, let's just stick to the juicy bits. Why not talk about all that money that's just laying around just ready to be scooped up, or give them a few stock tips, that sort of thing. How to get rich quick.
I'll give them some tips.
You know, Frederick, I used to be quite the intellectual myself. I gave it up. Nobody likes intellectuals. It's just a more sophisticated way of being a boy.
And in
now, why
5,
don't we talk about your
4,
diet? Oh, who did
3.
your work? I mean, don't tell me you haven't had any work done. 280, please. You're 300 if a day. And we're back. Yeah. Our guest today is billionaire investor and prominent business thinker, Frederick of Prussia. Just think, audience, Frederick Frederick here used to own his very own country.
And now I own this.
Yes, yes, of course.
No, really?
Now why don't we take it out to our audience? Who has a question for today's guest? Who wants to be a millionaire? Who would like to start? Sir, you.
Yes, I have a question.
Wonderful. And your name, sir?
Morris Phipps.
And where are you from, Mr. Phipps?
Ashtabula, Ohio.
And what do you do there, Mr. Phipps?
I'm a fast food worker.
A manager, senior executive who travels for the franchise?
No, I'm on the line. I'm the guy that puts the buns together with the patties. I'm the bun boy.
Fascinating. And your question, Mr. Phipps?
Well, yes. Before the break, Mr. Prussia was decoding some of the signifiers of today's advertising vocabulary. But I wonder if his analysis isn't slightly naive. Surely today's consumer sees right through the marketing smokescreen. After all, this isn't the 50s anymore. Isn't the receiver of today's advertising message infinitely more sophisticated now, what with all the semiotics and post-structuralist dialogue within it?
Well, that's just it. By adopting our own ironic stance toward the very marketing we produce, we explicitly acknowledge the consumer's sophistication. We're the first to tell him that he sees through us, to congratulate him on his own ironic self-awareness. By stepping aside, we allow him to market to himself, and then congratulate him on his shrewdness in seeing through our salesmanship.
What about the young people, Generation Y or D2 or whoever? They're not going to buy into this bullshit. They're going to rebel.
Indeed they are, miss, and we'll be right there to help them. Because rebellion itself has been co-opted into a product, an attitude, a habit of dress, a thing disconnected from politics or action, in fact made to seem laughable if it is. Rebellion is expressed through acting pouty and alienated, through drugs, through alternative music that isn't really alternative at all, just another face of the same machinery.
Who are you calling pouty,
Actual rebellion would
Audience,
self-pleasuring.
let's
That
stay
applies to the whole
orderly.
generational perspective now. No one wants their dreams interrupted, and the young more than anyone will fight to the death to preserve that flow of dreams, the endlessly expanding bandwidth down which we lead them to permanent anesthetic bliss.
Hey, look, what's wrong with anesthesia when everything's so fucked up?
Audience, please.
Precisely! At this point, people don't know any other life than what they see on television. They're perfectly content to live lives attempting to imitate what we present, doing their best to reshape their clumsy reality to our imaginary ideal. Because that's what sustains them, their dreams. We have mastered their dreams and substituted those who will fulfill the insatiable appetite of the market. And we've achieved this mastery not through oppression, but simply by emptying their imaginations of anything but our content.
Oh, horseshit! People are just trying to find happiness!
Yes, but why are they so unhappy? Why did their lives remain so empty? We've convinced them that all the unhappiness they feel, the lack of purpose, the futility of their lives, has no connection to history or to the economic system which rules over them, but resides solely in themselves. But we, of course, are there to help. We will help them heal!
Now, who would like to hear about Frederick's diet? I'm sure we'd all love to learn how he stays in such fabulous shape.
What about the left? Is there any meaningful opposition on the ground today?
None at all. With each consumer safely contained within what I like to call his PMS, personal marketing space. There's no sense of connection to anyone, thus no community, thus no opposition. There's talk but nothing else, and the talk itself becomes entertainment.
What about the artists, politicians, intellectuals?
Oh, come on! Artists fiddle in the margins, political leaders are the puppets of corporate interests. Pundits and intellectuals are greedy only to have a voice, any voice, as long as they can sell a book or keep their Sunday morning talk show employment. We grind away any real self-expression with the machinery of pop culture, yet raise altars to worship creativity in a culture where creativity has no role except to stoke the machinery of commerce.
Well, isn't this just all so fascinating? Now, why don't we talk about how we can help our audience get rich?
Yeah, but aren't you really just talking about those who are well off, or at least the middle class?
What about the urban poor? What about the disenfranchised?
Everyone got together and said, fuck you to the capitalist revolution. Fuck you to the
Audience,
we can't forget this.
No one believes more in the dream we have for sale than they do. Look at the state lotteries all over the country. Good for the schools, right? But who buys the vast majority of those tickets? The urban poor, the people who can least afford them. So they end up subsidizing the entire state school system, yet their schools are the ones most poorly served.
Hey, let them send their kids to private schools if they don't like it.
You're not following, ma'am. We don't want to educate someone with an axe to grind. Better to make him a rap artist and soothe his anger with millions of dollars and the appearance of a rebellious pose, which we can then, of course, sell as entertainment for the oppressed, who in turn seek not to end their oppression, but to become like him, rewarded by the system for their righteous anger, becoming not a revolutionary, but a lounge act.
Everybody's got rights in this country. Everybody's got a voice.
That's right, let them speak it for themselves.
Audience, please!
Sir.
Let's calm
Madam,
ourselves.
please, now who's
Let's
leading?
everybody breathe.
Vast segments
Deep
of the population,
cleansing breaths now.
Latinos, blacks, Asians, huge blocks of voiceless immigrants are entirely absent from the discourse. They're just blank spaces on a demographic geography, an enormous mass of humanity that simply doesn't exist. They don't have any rights except as economic raw material.
But sir, so many have raised themselves up through hard work and character and
Sure,
discipline.
every now and then that happens, and that's just great. It convinces the others that it's possible, and that's good for business. The rest of them disappear into the great unknown, and no one misses them. And really, why should they? Let the blacks go to prison or be slaves to drugs. Let the Latinos clean toilets and keep house and watch other people's children. The Asians, well, at least they know how to work. They can keep their little shops and liquor stores in the ghettos, since someone has to keep the malt liquor flowing.
No, Frederick, please! That is quite enough!
In this country, anybody who wants to get ahead will get ahead.
That's right! Only the lazy and stupid are left behind, and why shouldn't they be? Nature is brutal, and if we are to create a strong, competitive society, we must be brutal too. People have to make it on their own merits. If they're born to adversity, let them overcome it.
That's what I said!
Do they think that being born privileged doesn't have its burdens? Does anyone who achieves anything in this country have to be made to feel guilty about it? As if by being successful on their own terms, they've done it at someone else's expense?
That's it, buddy! I'm pulling the plug! We're going
We
to
have overthrown history itself. We've accomplished what history's most murderous times glowing through. We've won the cultural memory of entire nations. Ethnic identity is expressed through restaurant choices. Cultural differences have been produced entertainment themes. Stop thinking we have children they have heard. Stop remembering and they have. Even the events of last week's news program is as disposable as last week's sitcom episode. Staring at their glowing boxes, they see nothing in the past and nothing in the future. They only seek to stop the daily pain. They've lost their ability to feel horror, and so they buy and buy and buy.
Please! Isn't there a clip we can show? Don't we have another guest?
By the unfindable mystery of the mind. The Democratic voice triumph of the will. Ah, there's a familiar face. And last we perfected the Master Slave Society. You pressed the door of their oppression. Those who have been blinded weep for those who have taken their eyes. The tongueless grunt and howl their gratitude for being relieved of the burden of speech. Mankind has been advancing into a murderous fire for the last 300 years. But at last humanity has turned its weapons on itself.
Thank Christ! At last some entertainment
Blood
value.
as young and as warm as anyone.
What is it, honey?
My senses,
What
too,
is it,
are
honey?
senses.
You got
I
issues.
disown nothing.
You ought to come
I
join
forgive
in.
nothing. I
Are you
disown
getting
nothing.
this?
I forgive nothing.
You
I
go,
am good
girl.
for nothing.
Empower yourself.
Give me back
Take
my
control.
father. Give me back my weapons.
Are you going to do it, Frederick?
Give me back
Should
what's
he,
mine.
audience?
Time, gentlemen. Time
No,
to
sweetheart.
play.
You're acting out. You're letting your anger.
Did you never love me?
I never loved you.
Lessing. My friend, Lessing. Poet, scholar, playwright, artist. A human voice, the last I remember hearing.
Throughout his life, Lessing enjoyed an extremely obedient sleep, which descended as soon as he decided to close his eyes. He often said he never had dreams. This Lessing stayed with them up until his end. Shortly before he died, he said that he looked forward to the night even when he had slept all day.
My name is Gotthold Ephraim Lessing. I'm 47 years of age. I have stuffed 1-2 dozen dolls with sawdust that was my blood. Have dreamed a dream of theater in a country I've never known, United States of America. A place which may be a myth, or may simply be the termination of all myth, since myth is no longer adequate to carry the burden of our dreams. I was called artist. I reflected in public about things which were of no interest to me. That is over now. Yesterday I discovered a dead spot on my skin, a piece of desert. Now dying begins. Or rather, it is accelerating. By the way, I happen to agree with it. One life is enough. I have seen one new age arise after another, each one dripping blood, excrement, sweat from all its pores. History arrives at the finish line on a dead horse. I have seen the hell of women from below. The woman dangling from the rope, the woman with her arteries cut open, the woman with the overdose, snow on her lips, the woman with her head in a gas oven. For 30 years, I've tried to keep myself back from the chasm with words, consumptive from the dust of the archives, from the ashes which drift from the pages of books, choked by my growing disgust for literature, and burned by my ever more fervent desire for silence. In the babble of the academies, blah, 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 blah. I've envied the deaf mutes for their silence. And in the beds of the many women I did not love, I envied their silent fornication. I am beginning to forget my own text. I am a sieve. More and more words fall through. Soon I shall hear no voice but my own, which asks for forgotten words. These are my friends. I've begun to forget their names for some time now. To forget is to be wise. God forgets faster than anyone. It is good to sleep.
It is good to sleep. I never knew how good it would be. I lived my life fearing only the end of it, not knowing how I would face the horror of the blank space that I'd be forced to enter. Fill the time with frantic effort, as if noise itself would drown out the ticking of the clock inside my head. At the end, instead of fear, I find a happiness of nothingness. Finality is a soft drug, the embrace of a lover, the last words spoken in an empty room. I'm grateful that it is the last.
Death is a woman.
From the Prussia of the second Frederick, gold of the goose step, silver of running the gauntlet, blessing comes to America, land of the potato that will make Prussia great. In an automobile junkyard in Montana, amidst the archaic machinery of death and commerce, he encounters the last president of the United States, haunted by dreams of his own.
Welcome, my son. Welcome to the machine.
Yet come in our country. With a simple oath,
Piece of my heart. This piece of electrical transfer case, transfer tape, this transmitter station, stationary, this piece of transmission of my authority rare, so medium rarely reaffirmed in my oath and ache, so common in the new endings of old beginnings. How I thank the Lord, my processor in this contested catastrophe, this redressing of old wrongs and antique hatreds, the greasing of the wheels of commerce. And is it not morning in America once again for me and mine? My graceful humbled here, and staggering onward into the old story of the red-bloodied history of the leaders and beleaders of old who rounded the clubhouse turn and stood standing, still standing, until the last man is standing still in the new world order. My friends and fiends, my friend indeed, my friend in need of a slave-holding society wedding and waiting on the servant of two masters and two more margaritas of the brave new world odor of filth and decay, marching forth into the void to protect it, possess it, defend it if need be, but conquer always. For it must be for the must-haves and the must-have-nots. Or must not the many have not, when many have much divided much across the generations of pointless suffering, enduring the flawed and fallible people united in their divided states of the Americorn hold apocalyptic lip-syncing of the ship of state? Mayday, my day, mayday, mayday, and they go on enduring the ideal New Deal, where winner takes all but nothing of the grandest good, the flailing, flawful, lawless fiction that everyone belongs to the few, and everything else is the possession of the most possessed. The rights of the bleeders and takers away, no matter if they're called upon, halted upon, hated upon, shat upon sometimes, and justice, just for a moment, always delayed and denied and deterred. For how can we infer and follow no other course, of course, when everyone knows that a horse, of course, is America's famous faith in Mr. Freedom and the mystery of demogocracy, our rock and roll of the ages and the raging sea of... See how I sow my seed upon the waters, and let it come back to me 1,000-fold points of light and darkness on the very air. The fairy air, taking my root and sticking it to the welfare of other nations, hoping to greet out a new grubstake, carrying on our distrustful lust, and passed down and borne out. Even after 225 years, we have a long way yet to travel down the road again, on the road again, lined with the corpses of the just and the unjust in the eyes of the beholders, those who can prosper, but have no business sense except to mind their own ambitions, lousy spongers and takers away, limited by their own limitless limitations and hidden agendas and the circumstances of their birth, running oh so deep river winding into the seams of my seeming, seething, seamless heart, seeking only the redeeming value that we deem not redemption here. But can we not fill up a continent, and not just a country of who cares whether they accept it or not, that it is less than serious for leaders and citizens to opportunize and legitimize themselves as they see fit as a fiddle, while the getting is good for nothing, and every soil lifter and child killer must be bound above our interests and considered not less than the American heaven. Oh, heavenly creature, affirm with me in the tangle and terror of my brain the inexplicable civility and courage and character and compassion that once was, but no more now, was and is now, was and never shall be a civil defensive pluralistic society of one and indivisible, the invisible and annihilated effort dealing in lies and forgiveness, the pleading for mercy. Oh God, will no God show me mercy in the merciless night that is never ending, that is always coming on, and always taking away that which once was mine, falling away finally into the chasm of the summoning to drift and drown, until all and small alike will lose their gifts, their lovely gifts. How lovely of you to come bearing gifts, the deep mystery, the peace of mind, the droning of the chorus onward and upward. If we do not turn our children's heads, won't the vulnerable and the venerable, the enviable dead suffer still the error of our ways, the mirror of our days once and for all, in the chaos of the clamor of the voided language, the terror of my lonely nights, the calamities of my fractured heart, the horror of my head when my head is exploding with the unspeakable grief, the unspoken trust over fathers and mothers, the unrequited courage of the triumph of ignorance and apathy, the spare ribs of children, the weapons of the happy mass destruction, the joy of public executions, not the acts of God, but the acts of men of God. Oh God, why have you forsaken me on my lonesome road to Jericho? Where will we not? Will we ever pass on to the other side, the other sky, whether by sanctified touch or pastor's prayer, the call to conscience that falls on dead ears, devalued and rejected? Where can I turn in my hour of need, my whole horror of needs, the horror of my deeds? Who will stand by me when conscience comes? Who will free me from these chains of love? Where, my savior of the month, are you led and fled away down the primrose paths to the mute oblivion, the dark hole at the end of speech, the end of language, the failure of the brain, the breakdown that awaits me in the final solitude, the helpless silence, the anguished arrest of the heart, the first moment of the nothing into which I now stare, stopped of breath, and gasping into the dark blank of the no more I.
The hour of white heat. Dead buffaloes lie at the base of the canyon walls, squads of sharks' teeth, the black light, the alligators, the ancient appetite, grammar of earthquakes, the wedding of fire and water, Men of a new flesh. L'autre Maldoror seeks the oblivion to which he was always destined, making love to Carrion in the bright light of the never-ending artificial summer of America. I look across the vast emptiness, unable to see the point from which we started, knowing only now the destination to which we are condemned. Drowned prince of a ruined Atlantis, overwhelmed by oceans of blood. Sons of the dead, haunted by the dreams of the living. They will not go away. I think we can all agree the past is over.
I have a journey yet to complete. I must go forward, though I have lost the knowledge of which direction is forward and which is backward. Can I carry my dream backward beyond the point of my birth, so that I might yet undo everything that is yet to be done? Can any suffering be ended? Can I undo history for a moment, long enough for silence to occur? Still the world, hold it in a chasm which can escape time. And in that void, allow the final silence to flood in. Am I awake or am I dreaming still?
In the name of freedom, slavery was announced and accepted. I come to you with empty hands and naked teeth. Men say whatever is killed becomes the father. I am now father to the man. If I am the ancient message, the door to the dark world from which life comes, I close this door forever. I am become death, the mute cry of the abortion in the belly, followed by a silence, indistinguishable from the sound of despair. No longer will I create the world out of the hole between my thighs. Let the darkness that dwells inside me be the void into which it finally disappears. I bear no message but extermination. What was the same but always changing ever, now no longer changes nor will ever live again. The stillborn future. I give you back a sterile planet. I will release no more moons from the shadows I hold within myself. The magic of my own body has abandoned me. I go back into the night sea. I leave you behind. I will be no more me forever. My silence is my own again. I walk back through the door. I give you back your own legacy of murder. The beautiful is nothing but the beginning of the terrible.